Final Fantasy I is a classic game from 1987, a game that defined a genre and is still considered an amazing experience. But amazing is not what I got thanks to a crazy idea. I decided to do a challenge run of the PS1 port where I gimped myself by having a full party of black mages. Initially, I was excited at the prospect. How bad could it be? I asked myself. Little did I know that I would be in an endless void, forced to enter a state of capitalist suffering. There's no rest, no reward, only the 24/7 Beijing grind. And if you don't respect the grind, you'll enter a case of quantum superposition where the capitalist dream and capitalist nightmare occur simultaneously. All because a black mage is one of the most expensive characters to run in-game. This doesn't take into account the awful economy, the atrocious healthcare, or the features still present in-game. So join me on this capitalist venture where I'm forced to respect the grind and learn how to maximize profits, all in the name of finishing within an arbitrary rule set. A test of patience where everything is heavily dependent on luck like a gacha roll. But there's no dopamine hit and no wife or husbando coming, only pure suffering.
I never felt like
Preparation was a necessity for this run due to several key factors. As mentioned before, black mages are fucking costly to run. Spells are pricey at the start and get worse as you progress. Equipment pricing only becomes an issue in the late game, but at that point, you take all you can get even if it's a small increase in stats. And let's not forget the intelligence bug which massively screws over casters in game. Thanks to this feature, intelligence is never factored into the damage or healing caused by spells. This means that even if your casters get a master's degree or a PhD to prove their intelligence, it won't matter. Spells never get stronger, severely weakening the reason to run casters ever. And then there's the prices of town services which are basically extortion. Normally, I have no qualms with paying for an overnight stay or reviving dead characters. However, the prices of these services are non-standard, meaning each town has their own asking price. And these asking prices are decided by... I don't know. With these factors in mind, running for black mages ensures a constant state of debt, where you'll be potentially spending 80% of your time clawing out of financial ruin, with the remaining 20% for actually progressing the game. Whatever the case may be, two things were certain. First, I had to consult a walkthrough and make a spreadsheet of everything I needed for the entire run, because I needed to min-max. Look, I was already resigned to a slow and painful experience, so I attempted to alleviate some of the agony. Second is the acceptance of my fate, that I have to respect the grind and put an ungodly amount of hours in it, all in the futile attempt to make things easier as things progressed. Spoiler warning, these didn't make the run easier, but I at least got some visibility on what to look out for. Finally, the party composition. Since this will be a group of black mages, I had to create a team comprised of individuals with an extraordinary set of skills, in the hopes that it would make for a well-rounded team. First, we have the team lead and forerunner. I got my guy, 11-time world champion sprinter, and celebrated Japanese superhero Usain Bolt. Next, I needed a well-known financial advisor. This makes sense since the entire run will revolve around managing finances. So I got the master of financial savings, Shaquille O'Neal. Now, I need a man with a good arm, someone who's proficient at smacking people. And no one is better than the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith. Last but not least is the man who helped create this team, the only man capable of assembling a group of remarkable people, the man of multiple roles and many successes, Samuel L. Jackson. With the preparation done, we now move on to the challenge run. Financial risk management is the name of the game. The entire challenge is all about weighing options and managing assets in the hopes of controlling or reducing risks. However, everything is a risk and there's no acceptable tolerance level. This applies to any location, whether it's towns, dungeons, or the overworld. And while money will always be an issue, it can be solved by doing some grinding, which leads us to the core gameplay loop. And all Black Mage's challenge run boils down to 4 simple states: grinding for money, buying items in town, abusing memo files, and dealing with enemy encounters. Grinding ensures a way out of bankruptcy, so you can do it all over again by purchasing items in town. Acquiring new items, spells, and equipment is a necessary investment if you want to have a chance of progressing the game. Memo files are a temporary way of saving progress without having to return all the way back to town to permanently save your progress. Despite its momentary state, abusing this feature is crucial in handling your progress because you'll eventually encounter a fight you can't win. What's that? You didn't memo save beforehand? Good luck spending extra time reaching the same point just so you can die all over again. And speaking of deaths, that's part of the norm if you don't properly handle enemy encounters. Encounters are handled by fighting, escaping, or dying. You'll be fighting to improve your finances or because of fixed encounters such as boss fights or spiked tiles. For the most part, you'll be escaping battles or dying, in which case, do a soft reset and load from a memo file to save time. Fights aren't necessarily hard, they're simply a nuisance because you need to micromanage your turns. Casters in the PS1 port still follow the Vancian magic system. Basically, casters have a limited amount of spell cast that can only be replenished by sleeping in an inn or a cottage, so you have to save your spells for the boss fight. This isn't the case for the early game because you have no choice. Early spells do more damage than a basic attack. All of this changes once you get Steel and Saber. These two spells buff your character's attacks, turning your black mages into wannabe Giga Chads. Spoiler warning, this is what you'll be doing for the rest of the game. It takes a stupid amount of turns, hoping that RNG doesn't fuck you over because certain bosses have insta-kill moves that can easily undo all of your progress. Good luck. But when things fall into place, killing enemies is one of the most satisfying experiences next to being financially well off. The difficulty can be easily described as an inverted bell curve. The hardest parts are the early game and late game for entirely different reasons. In the early game, everything is shit and you'll die to almost everything. You have to grind for both cash and levels. However, most early game areas are unforgiving, so you'll be stuck with the most inefficient EXP drops. The late game's difficulty stems from the amount of patience it demands. There's no apotheosis or enlightenment, only endurance tests that make you beg for RNGs. Every move is a risk that can easily go bad because an enemy decided to wipe your team. Despite all that, the challenge run can go notably fast if you know what you're doing. Most chests in dungeon contain unusable items which you'll end up ignoring. Encounters are ignored for the most part, turning dungeons into simple treks from start to finish. So if anything, a majority of this challenge run is spent on everything else that doesn't directly progress the game. This challenge run was definitely an experience, a one-of-a-kind event that I have no plans of repeating and absolutely do not recommend. If you're having thoughts of doing this challenge run, I urge you to reconsider. No amount of setup, positive thinking, or grinding will prepare you for this event. I am heavily convinced that the only people who should do this challenge run are people as dumb as me or a special kind of masochist. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Hi there, if you like the content, consider leaving a like and subscribing. If you want to hear more from me, follow me on Twitter at KenAthemus. Link is in the description. Take care and stay safe always.